How's it going, everyone? It's Riley's Redzone, and welcome back to another edition of weekly NFL picks on the channel. If you're new here, I try to every week release who I think will win each NFL game. Now, obviously, a few games have already occurred up to this point, so I will be recapping those and telling you who I did select for those. But once again, if you're new, I make the picks each week straight up who I think will win the game. I may mention who's the favorite in each matchup to give you an idea of that, but when it's all said and done, I pick who I think wins straight up. Last week was a good one for me. Went 12-4, making my overall standings 144-80 on this season. So would love to keep that rolling. But when we start talking about this week, obviously I can say whatever because it's after the fact, but I'm be straight up with you. I picked the Rams in the first game of the week, which was the Rams and the Seahawks, and I will get to it, but on paper, this was, holy cow, a game of the year candidate between two of the top teams in the NFC. And I picked the Rams, who at the time and looking back at it was considered an underdog selection in terms of my picks this week, but boy did this game live up to the hype. I mean, it was doom and gloom for the Seahawks after a pick thrown by Sam Darnold, but then they get some help from Rashid Shaheed on the punt return, and it ends up going into overtime after, we had 60 points in the game between the two teams, and neither of them could score in the final 5 minutes of regulation. It felt like they couldn't really move. It goes to overtime. Matthew Stafford still delivered quite well overall in that game. They get the touchdown, and then the Seahawks, when they score, you had to go for two. That was the only option. A tie is the same as the loss. You're playing for the division and even the chance to maybe have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. That is really, really important for them. So they had to do it. They got it. Once again, that was a win for the Seahawks and a loss for my picks. But the next two went all right for me. The Eagles and the Commanders. I got to give credit to Washington. They fought in this game. There was a literal jabber between them as well in this contest. But all said and done, the Eagles need to get a little bit of momentum going into the postseason. They haven't been the same this year as they have been in the past. And so just kind of getting these wins is important for them. So they delivered. I did pick the Eagles in that game. Now, Packers and Bears. After we saw the Rams and Seahawks deliver earlier in the week, how about this one in the NFC North? Unbelievable contest. The Packers lose Jordan Love, which was tough for them to go to Malik Willis, who for the most part had some bright spots. Obviously, towards the end, the snap that just couldn't go for them. That was unfortunate for the Packers. But the Bears, they maybe had a little bit of luck on your side. You could say that. They had the onside kick. Anything else going towards it, the odd snap is mentioned, but bottom line, I think that it's 100% fair to say when they needed to, they delivered. All said and done, Caleb Williams able to get it to DJ Moore on a beautiful dime of a throw, and I did pick the Bears in that game, so I'm 2 for 3 entering the rest of the games, which will be happening after this video is posted. So that's where we're at so far. So let's talk about what hasn't happened yet. Chargers and Cowboys. These are two teams I think are in a similar tier. The Cowboys now are not fighting for the postseason. Take that as you will in terms of how they're going to play the last few weeks. The Chargers, I still just don't know what to make of them. They get decent wins, then they have some surprise losses. I don't think you can really, but let's be real here. The Chiefs did have Patrick Mahomes for a lot of that game, at least like at the beginning. But in the end, a lot of it too came down to Gardner Minshew coming in. And so, I don't know, like it kind of was I don't know what to take from it, really, with the Chargers and the Chiefs, because I think the Chargers might find their way in the postseason. I don't really see them as a huge threat at the moment, but I will say this, I'm very shocked. They are considered the underdog by my last check against the Cowboys in this game. I'm going to take Los Angeles in that contest. Got to take a few swings at the board in terms of upset picks if you want to even have a shot at getting them all right, which I hope to do one day. Vikings and Giants. The Vikings are on a roll here with a couple of wins against NFC East opponents, and they keep it going against the Giants. I think New York is fun at this point. I think that they have a lot of reason to be optimistic for the future, but in terms of where things are going right now, I'm going to take the Vikings in this game. I think J.J. McCarthy is doing exactly what he needed to do over the last few weeks, and he needs to do over the next few to kind of give some confidence again and say, okay, this is the guy in Minnesota. But I do think it's of note. Travel seems to have been an issue for the Vikings this week. I think they just landed the plane on Saturday night, it appeared. Probably not the schedule that they were intending. That I don't know how much that really plays into the game on the field, but could be an interesting storyline. Bengals and Dolphins. The Bengals, just same story as always, except last week they didn't even really have an offense. Usually it's they can't stop anything, but they can score. They couldn't really do either last week. And the Dolphins make the quarterback change now after losing to the Steelers. They go with Quinn Ewers, who, I mean, we'll see about any upside he has. I think it would have been interesting to see Zach Wilson just as a potential revival project. I don't know if we'll ever see that done at this point in his career. But either way, they go with a rookie. I don't expect them to really be competitive over the next few weeks, but maybe they can have some fun out there. I'm going to take the Bengals in a battle between two teams that really don't have much to play for at this point, except for maybe the head coaches and their jobs. The Bucks and the Panthers, what is going on in the NFC South? Nobody wants to win it. And this is going to be one of the games that's going to help determine who does win it. And the thing is, we are lucky we get to get it twice over the next few weeks. I think this thing could end up being split, but what's actually weird is just going on my gut feeling. I think it might be backwards in terms of I've got Tampa Bay on the road getting a win against Carolina here. Everything says if you're going to split it, probably go with the home team. And either way, I think they will maybe split it. I mean, we'll see where they're at 2 weeks down the line. Both teams are cold right now. Somebody has to win this game. I mean, there could be a tie, right? But I think the Bucks a chance to get back here. I just don't have quite enough consistency with the Panthers. I need to know who they are because when they're on, I think they're a better team than Tampa Bay maybe at their peak. But Tampa Bay's getting some guys healthy again though. That's really important for them. I'm gonna go with the Bucks in this game. And it's a similar story. Honestly, we get to this point in the year, and there's just some games where, like, these are two teams out of the playoffs. In this case, two teams towards the total bottom of the ladder, the Jets and the Saints. I mean, let's talk about this one, though. The Jets are just not great, right? But the Saints, this is interesting for them. I do think that they might have something in Tyler Shough. But either way, their winning hurts their draft position quite a bit. But I think, as some people have stated, I think in the long run, a team learning how to win and Kellen Moore kind of, you're starting to see it a little bit. I think that's important. And so if you're a Saints fan that was maybe looking at them taking their next quarterback, I don't know if that's going to happen, especially if they, as I predict here, get a win against the Jets. I don't know if they're really going to want to reach for something in this year's draft, especially how thin the class is going to get. But either way, I've got New Orleans in this game. They're favored. Somebody probably has to win this game. I think both fan bases might be rooting for a loss. It's just a kind of a wild one. Bills and Browns, I'll keep this brief here. Buffalo's back right now. They're pretty hot offensively. And the Browns, you're just trying to figure out if maybe you can go with Shador at any point or anything, and he's looked all right in most opportunities. Last week, obviously, a big loss. But I'll go with Buffalo. I just have to. I think it's safe, and that's the reasoning behind it. Kansas City and Tennessee. I dropped Kansas City heavily in the power rankings. You're without Mahomes. You're done with the playoffs. Titans, honestly, might have more motivation in this game than Kansas City. But I just don't have a reason to pick the Titans. There's just such a big gap there. I'm going to go with the favored Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm telling you, if there were a sneaky upset of the week, I always have maybe an almost upset of the week. I think that might be the one. The Titans could maybe be sneaky this week against the Chiefs. Jags and Broncos now. And you want to talk about good games. This one has the potential to be. I do think that this could be a really, really good one. still am a little bit unsure of what these two teams are because all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is balling out for the Jaguars. And then the Broncos, I mean, I've kind of said it. I was pretty skeptical with their results based on who they've played. But that win against Green Bay and I think some of their more recent results have really been impressive. And they're towards the top of the AFC and as they stand and probably will be by the end of the season. And so I think I'm going to go with Denver here, but this one I think could really prove a lot as to who could be towards the top of the AFC in the postseason because I feel like right now the NFC just feels a little bit, I'm not going to say stronger per se, but a little bit more sure thing as to who those true contenders are. I think the top of the AFC might still be a little bit open, especially with the likes of a Kansas City out, and Joe Burrow's not going to be in the postseason. Josh Allen kind of sticks out as one of the only guys who is really, really going to have that playoff experience very likely if the Bills get in. I think the Ravens still could, it changes every week, but if Lamar gets in there, you put him in that discussion too. But that game, I think, has a lot to look out for. A game that maybe doesn't as much is Atlanta and Arizona. Kirko's balling out a little bit. I mean, credit to Kirk Cousins. He can throw the football around. The Cardinals don't have that same spark that they have had this season where like they had a really poor record, but I thought they still had some fight. I think they're losing some of the fight, but this is the exact type of game that after the Falcons have been doing a little bit good, I think the Cardinals get a win here just so they have it. I'm taking the underdog Arizona Cardinals. Not really any logic behind it, pure just kind of gut feeling on that one, so I'll take the Cardinals. Raiders and Texans. I have the Raiders at the bottom of the league, and that's probably not going to change unless they win a game. And the Texans are starting to really pick it up. I think they're a team to watch in the AFC. So I got to take the Texans here. I think that's the only option at this point. Can't take the Raiders unless I'm proven otherwise. Steelers and Lions. I think the Steelers showed like at their best they can put up some points. They can play pretty well, but I think the Lions are due for a big win pretty soon here. I think that they're still a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs, despite them maybe not feeling as top of the. And once again, they got to get in. That's the key part, right? They're kind of backs against a wall. If they were to get in, I think that they could be really, really dangerous, and they're getting better. It feels like at times. But once again, they got to try to get in the dance. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I feel like they're due for a win like this. I'm going to take Detroit as they try to really keep their hopes alive. Patriots and Ravens, this could be a really good game. I'm a total believer in things kind of evening out. So after a loss last week, I think the Patriots as underdogs, which is interesting for this game, they get it done. Now, if the Ravens can deliver on a win here, that proves they're back to what we kind of expected them to be and where they could be in this discussion. And so I'll take the Patriots on the road to get back at it with Drake May. They still put up a heck of a game against Buffalo last week. So the Ravens, after a great showing as well, probably will do very well, but I'll take New England. And to round it out, 49ers versus the Colts. The Niners are just good at football, right? I mean, they're probably going to be third in the division and better than a lot of teams from other divisions that win it in their respective divisions. But I think that they're just a pretty good football team, and now with Brock Purdy back, they're really finding their rhythm. And the Colts, you got to give credit. Phillip Rivers, for coming back after 5 years, I think did about just as good as you could have hoped for a 44-year-old to do off of 5 years rest. I mean, obviously at the very, very end there was an interception, but he can process the game very well. I don't know if maybe they open up the passing game at all in terms of getting down the field. I don't know what he's got in his arm, but I could see that happening this week. I think they need another win or two for sure to try to get in that hunt, but as it stands, he might be their best option, but I've got San Francisco for that one. So that's going to round out the picks for this week. If you are making selections, make sure to hopefully have some luck on your side as well. We'll maybe be having some guest picks back starting next week as well, and then get everybody back for that last episode also. But hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend or week, depending on when you are watching this, and enjoy your time watching some football.